In the previous video, we've actually populated one question from using this class. But what if we wanted to populate multiple questions from a class into our HTML page? So I've actually gone ahead and added two questions. The second question is with ID 2, and it's got the following options. And our third question is got the ID Q3 and has also got the following options. But what we'd like to do is actually populate these questions from using our class. So this is the same code we had in the previous video, but I'm just going to use it to change what's needed in order to populate more than just one question. And this should work with as many number of questions as you have. So I'm going to change the comment to define an array of questions. So let's just start with defining a constant variable called questions. And questions would be plural because it means we have a lot of questions, not just one. So our first question, I don't need the reference like we did here because we can actually refer to this particular object using the index of our question array. So we no longer need that reference. I'm going to delete it. And then to indicate that I would like to add more elements to my array, I'm just going to put a comma, one more comma, and I'm just going to change these questions to sort of reflect on our new question. So this would be, these are questions about a traffic light. So my question would be, which traffic light color means the car can go? And that'll be green. And our third question would be so that was about the weekend days, and this is something we wrote in a previous video on our HTML ones, which is a weekend, let me get my spelling correctly, day in most countries. And that'll be Sunday. So this would be our answer. So what we've basically done is we've used this class to instantiate three objects and passed in the name as our first instance variable and set it to our first instance variable, and then we put the answer and set that to our second instance variable, which is our answer. So now what we want to do is let's just make sure that we haven't got any major errors so far. So question 1 is not defined. That's fine. That's in this line over here. Okay. So now what we want to do is what we previously done is we want to update the HTML to display the questions, not just one question. So this really worked for just that particular question. But now we want sort of to grab the IDs of these, and we want to do this dynamically. We don't want to sort of do this manually for each question, so that we want it to be dynamically changing, and for that we will use string interpolation. But let's first navigate, or let's loop through our list of questions using the for each loop. For each loop, and here we'll be using the arrow function, and I'll be passing in question. That would be the current element and the index of that question, and we'll be using the arrow function using this equal to sign and that greater than sign syntax. And what we want to do is I'm going to put this in a constant, so we will sort of be I'm going to just sort of reuse this. I'm just going to put it down here. I'd like actually to put this value in a variable. For the element we are looping also, so question element, right? And here we want to get the element by its ID. Now we want this to dynamically change instead of hard coding this value. So for that we want to use string interpolation, and to do that we will use the backtick like this. This is the key that's right below the escape on your keyboard, escape key. And then we'll use I'm going to use Q because all of these start with the letter Q. But the second value is what we want to sort of dynamically change. And for this, we will use the $sign, and whatever is going to be the value goes in the curly braces. That will be dynamically changing. And for that, it will be the index. Now, the index is actually starting from 0. So we want, because these start with 1, all we have to do is increment that index by 1. And that index really refers to where this is sitting in that array. So the arrays really start indexing from 0. So the fix is to just plus this by 1. And for better readability, we put spaces there. And then we end it, after the curly brace, we end it again with that backtick right below the escape. And so what we want to do then is now we can use this variable and access its inner HTML. And then instead of question 1, we'll now refer to this element, that current element we are looping, and .name will be accessing the instance variable name. So it's going to grab this, and then this, and then the third one. Let's save and refresh and make sure. Oh, let's close off our function and round bracket. And now we've actually got these populated right from our class. So I hope this was helpful. Stay tuned so that we can update the below to give us those correct and incorrect, because at the moment it's not really working because we've changed question 1, so it's gonna crash. We want to fix this such that it'll work for these questions as well. So stay tuned.